Hey everybody, welcome to Indie Games Level Up. I'm your host, Phil Lubensky. I'm right next to Parc La Fontaine in Montreal, right outside the home of Mathieu Begin, co-founder of Clever Plays. I'm going to talk with him about his roguelike action game, Leap of Fate. Alright, so here's a quick rundown of the game. Leap of Fate is a hardcore action game for PC and mobile. It's set in a twisted version of present-day New York City, where you play as one of 4 powerful mages. It's a roguelike featuring rich characters, tons of spells, and multiple endings to discover. And you will die. Oh yes, you will die. That's the gist of it. Now on to the interview. So everybody, I'm sitting here with game director and co-founder of Clever Plays, Mathieu Begin. Mathieu, thanks for having me.
Well, my pleasure.
So what made you want to found your own studio?
Making games is my passion. I mean, I've always liked making games more than playing games. Back in my days when I was playing a lot of Dungeons and Dragons, I was the game master. I would spend like 20 hours to prepare my 5-hour weekly session for my players. Like I've always enjoyed making gaming experiences, so now I do that full time, which is fantastic. I just love it. So I used to work at Ubisoft and I really liked it. For me, it was the way to make games, so I was fine with it. And then one day I played that game that's called Bastion by Supergiant Games. So I was moved by playing that game and I was, wow, that's really a unique experience. And then I look at the credits and there were 7 people that made that game, including a guy making the voice and a guy doing the sound design. That blew my mind. You can actually make these really high-value games with a small team. I knew that I wanted to do something with that. You have an IP that you develop, and you develop it for the right reasons. You make it because you want people to play a good game, and that's it, that's all.
What sparked the idea for Leap of Fate?
So I would say it's the replayability of a game like The Binding of Isaac, the precision of controls of League of Legends, and the feel-good hack and slash feel of Diablo, all mixed into one. We like to say that it's the fastest roguelike on PC. In Leap of Fate, you play as a techno-mage in a kind of a cyberpunkish modern world. And you have all these powers that allow you to fight enemies in a way that's super fast and powerful. So you have this ability called the Shadow Walk. That does damage also to enemies that you Shadow Walk through. And so that creates a very, very dynamic type of game where you always zip around and shoot your magical powers. Gives you a really powerful and fast feeling. We worked really hard to create that world that we wanted to be original. And I would say it's a mix of magic plus cyberpunk plus real world mystic influences like esotericism. So we roll all that into one. All of that in modern day New York City. And on the magic side, I think that since the dawn of humanity, there's been incredibly entertaining stories that were created to explain the place of man in the world, the universe. And so all the religions, all the mysticism, the esotericism, there's a whole body of beliefs that exist.
So in Leap of Fate, when you die, you die. How do you think this affects choices and that players make when they play this game?
I think it changes a lot of things. And that's actually, to understand what a roguelike is something that is not easy for many people, I think. Many people don't know what a roguelike is. So a classic roguelike is really a game where you have permadeath, so once you die, you start from the beginning. And there's random generation of levels. Every time it's completely different. A lot of people, the first time they die and they realize they've lost all their skills and their progression, they're like, what the hell, what happened? And it's like, I don't like this. And they're kind of mad. But then when they understand that the game is built around that, then they get over it and they're, oh, okay, that's interesting. And what it brings is that every game, you get to build your character again. Every single session that you play, you're going to explore something new. And I find it very fresh every time, very stimulating. It's all about like offering that type of choice to the player. They can experiment, they can try different things. We have a lot of players right now in a closed beta, It's interesting to hear what they have to say about that. It creates all these different strategies, like it depends from one person to another. But for sure, you act differently knowing that your next game will start from scratch than if it was a progression for forever.
What would you say was your biggest struggle so far while working on Leap of Fate?
There were many struggles. It's not easy to make a game. The first real challenge was to create controls for mobile, because I have to say, so Leap of Fate is a PC game, but we're also making a port for tablets. And it was very obvious to me that on tablets, there's almost nothing to play for a gamer. I always just look through the App Store and say nothing, so bad. And it's all, well, I'm not saying these games are bad, but they're not for me, they're not what I'm looking for as a gamer. Most of us are hardcore gamers. We basically want to make games for people that are passionate about playing games, people that value skills and investment in a game. We like when people feel like, oh wow, there's depth in this game, I want to learn about it and learn to master it and get better, and I will find this and that. So we want to cater to that type of player, really. Obviously, there's a huge niche there that's completely empty and that you can do something with that. Developing the controls for tablet was our major first breakthrough. It really mixes two different control schemes that have proven themselves on tablet already. So the first one is the dual stick. And then there's also the second part, which is the pointing, which is very natural on tablet. You have a finger, you point at somewhere. So the philosophy was to create a control scheme in which you did not have to look at the interface at all. So wherever you put your thumbs, it would work. At PAX, gamers were very, very impressed with the controls. The words like fluid and precise came out. It's important to understand that Leap of Fate is a game that's extremely fast. And so we really managed to create a control scheme that supports that.
What can we expect in the upcoming months for Leap of Fate?
So Leap of Fate right now is in early access on Steam. If you guys want to try the game, you're welcome to do so. And we're expecting to launch like the final version probably in October.
Mathieu, thank you so much for having me.
It was my pleasure.
So for more info on Leap of Fate, go to www.clever-plays.com. Indie Games Level Up is produced by Handmade. Handmade creates compelling live action and animation, including video game trailers, commercials, and this web series. To find out more, visit handmadecreative.ca. This episode is sponsored by the Canada Media Fund. Since 2010, they've invested over $50 million in Canadian indie game studios. The Canada Media Fund is proud to help indie games level up, explore innovation and creativity in indie games.